Today, we are going to be taking a look at the lore from Dottore's new boss drops, the anomalous tree marrows. These are not what you get for just killing the boss. They're an RNG drop, so I'm having to use the Genshin wiki for this. What we're going to do is read through bit by bit so that y'all can understand what this is, and I will give my opinions on each one as we go through it. The anomalous tree marrow number 1. Experiment report. Experimental subject acute toxicity test. Specimen 1. Male, 43 years. Specimen presentation. Obese with signs of mental confusion. Vital signs were stable. Toxicology screening indicated the presence of other drugs in specimen's system. Route of administration. High-dose oral ingestion. Reactions. Specimen exhibited minor extremity spasms within 60 seconds with no vomiting or distress in the chest area. Onset of hallucinations occurred at T+5 minutes, accompanied by cognitive linguistic disorganization. Progression to respiratory failure and death occurred at T+8 minutes. Jesus Christ. Okay, so this is clearly some of, I would say, Zandique's experiments. His first specimen was a 43-year-old male who died after 8 minutes of getting whatever he put in him. Jesus. Specimen 2, male, 28 years. Medium build with signs of psychological instability. Physical restraints were utilized due to acute non-compliance. Vital signs were excessively robust, exceeding expected psychological parameters. The route of administration was high-dose gastric gavage. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's stomach. Gastric is usually stomach. Reactions. Specimen reported numbness in the extremities with neither spasms in the limbs nor vomiting. At T+2 minutes, subcutaneous bleeding was observed. That's terrifying, by the way, because subcutaneous means in between the layers of your skin. Subject remained passive with no signs of combative behavior following the removal of physical restraints. At T+4 minutes, subjects exhibited rapid involuntary eye movement, indicative of hallucinatory activity. Mortality occurred at T+5 minutes following respiratory arrest. Jesus, 5 minutes? That's crazy. Specimen 3, male, 20 years. Specimen presentation is slim of build, appeared fully oriented and alert. Multiple superficial injuries accompanied by intra-abdominal hemorrhage. Vital signs unstable. Oh, so did this guy just die, bro? Because there's no route of administration or reactions. This guy just didn't even get tested on. What did he do with the people that didn't even get tested on? Oh god. Specimen 4, female, 35 years. Slim build, comatose. Vital signs were abnormal, with no response to external stimuli. She had a high-dose neural injection. Is that an injection into the brain? Reactions. Onset of subcutaneous bleeding immediately following injection. Death occurred rapidly at T+3 minutes with no signs of emergence from comatose state prior to death. Jesus Christ. This is disgusting. This is actually disgusting. Oh my god. Specimen 5. We've got some blacked out stuff here. Initial assessment. Disruption of vascular integrity exceeded expectations. Preliminary data suggests significant practical utility, and further validation of the protocol is indicated. Investigator Zandique. Specimen 3's records were transferred to another file. File name Feofan Sergeyevich Vexel. This is Pantalone. Wait, so this one? The one where it got cut off were transferred to Pantalone? Interesting. Medical record. A male, aged 26. The complaint is a through-and-through gunshot wound to the left upper arm. In addition to the through-and-through gunshot wound to the left upper arm, the patient presents with multiple superficial injuries sustained in a physical altercation. History. No known allergies, no history of past surgeries. Debridement and suturing. Administration of oral capsule formulation 3 and topical ointment formulation 5. Follow-up in 3 days. The post-operative notes say vital signs are stable. Patient is non-compliant regarding the cause of injury. Isn't being a bank clerk supposed to be a safe job? So this medical record, a 26-year-old male who was a bank clerk, is this meant to be Pantalone? Oh, it is. File labeled with a new tag, Regrator. Oh my god. Male, age 30. No known allergies. History of past surgery. Frequent smoker. Exam type, regular. Health condition, good. What is the purpose of filing this kind of procedural document? The forms have all been submitted. Why have I not seen it yet? What? What is this then? Maybe this is just a follow-up because this is still Zandique being the investigator. Male, age 38, condition good, test drug, trial version 2, oral ingestion, so a tablet more than likely. Vital signs are stable, no short-term side effects observed. Observation period 3 years. The results are tissue aging has been significantly slowed compared to the first experiment. This is about Pantalone as well. Oh my god, all of these are Pantalone, bro. With the most significant results seen in the preservation of organ vitality, neural function remains normal with no increase in anti-aging effects. Objectives for the next phase is stabilization of pharmacodynamic consistency and prolonging therapeutic half-life, addressing the issue of cerebral aging. So he was basically trying to prevent aging, but also cerebral aging. So the actual brain, not just like a topical aging, but a full-on cerebral aging is kind of crazy. Okay. Male, age 56. Complaint, deteriorating vision. Description of complaint. Patient reports severe visual decline over the past 3 months, accompanied by acute ocular pain and sensitivity to light. History. No known allergies. History of past surgery. Smoker of 30 years at 20 sticks per day. Diagnosis. Damage to the cornea. Treatment. Corneal repair surgery. Administration of topical solution 9. And instructions to avoid exposure to strong light. Follow-up in 7 days. Follow-up examination. Subject is recovering well. Investigator. 25. 25? Is this a segment? Because by this time, did Zandik die? In light of the subject's failure to adhere to the recommended occupational safety adjustments, any subsequent instances of similar restorative or graft procedures will no longer be added to the record. Pantalone didn't listen to any of the recommended safety adjustments, so they're still going to do experiments, but any restorative or skin graft procedures or anything are not added to the record. That's kind of crazy. Holy shit. Male, 72. Trial version 5. The reaction was vital signs are stable. No short-term side effects observed. Observation period this time is 5 years. Experiment results. Tissue aging has paused and cerebral neural imaging has stabilized while brain age has ceased to increase. Physical age of subject is estimated to be 45 years. Objectives for the next phase. The research and development of drugs and antidepressant pharmacotherapy. Of course not. That was just a joke, because fighting time requires a stronger mind. The clinical data obtained from the autopsy of Zandik has been utilized to its full extent. Assessment suggests that any subsequent iterations are unlikely to yield breakthrough progress. Any maintenance of observed effects is contingent on the subject's adherence to a scheduled drug regimen. The current report is hereby concluded by 35. So yeah, Zandik was already dead here. Again, I'm gonna assume he'd already died by this point, or he was just so old at this point that he wasn't doing the stuff anymore. He was probably in trouble here. And then in between these happening, he died. And by this point, they'd already done all of the research that they could have possibly done on Zandik. So now original Dottore is long gone. Not even a thought in their minds, probably. Male, age 103, acute upper gastrointestinal bleeding. Description of complaint. Patient reports history of high-intensity, high-stress work and irregular meals over the past 6 months. Emergence of persistent epigastric pain without an obvious trigger 3 days ago. Patient declined a stomach transplant and opted for more conservative treatment instead. Administered oral capsule 4 and 3, and instructions to adhere to a consistent nutritional schedule and ensure adequate rest. Jesus. Okay, so that was 45. We have so many more. Oh my god, dude. Age 175. Difficulty breathing due to pneumonia. Patient presents with difficulty breathing on exertion, along with persistent fatigue and chest pain. Examination revealed extensive necrosis of lung tissue. No known allergies, history of past surgery, smoker of 145 years at approximately 20 sticks per day. I do wonder what could have caused this. Lung transplant surgery. Patient is recovering well. Recommended, stop frickin' smoking. The chances of the patient actually quitting are low. As such, any subsequent complaints of a similar nature will no longer be added to the record. That's crazy, dude. Holy. This is getting a bit too far, bro. God damn. Male, age 220. Complaint. Chemical burns. Description of complaint. Patient was assaulted 4 hours ago. Who assaults a 220-year-old man, bro? Presented with chemical burns to the forearm from exposure to high concentration mixed solution. No known allergies, history of past surgery, long-time smoker at approximately 10 sticks a day currently. He is cutting down. Skin graft surgery is what was performed, and the patient is recovering well, albeit with a newly acquired sensitivity to external stimuli due to damage to the skin barrier. Recommendation: minimize field-based duties, but that's not something I can help. And then only 1 year later, when he was 221, restoration of immune system. Methodology: integrated integrated surgical intervention and pharmacotherapeutic management. The results are complete physiological restitution. The experiment is concluded. Congratulations to the patient who may now continue to enjoy the use of products made of alpaca wool. Thank you. What? I'm so confused. And then, oh my god, holy, long time later, 312. The complaint is, generally speaking, a trivial matter like this does not call for a file entry, but how can one pass up on documenting the occasion where the great Pantalone got a nosebleed after tripping over a bedpost? Treatment, routine wound care. Recommendation, put on glasses by number 8. And then again at age 359, complaint is poisoning. Patient presents with liver failure, suspected poisoning within the past 12 months, has regained consciousness twice following admission. History of allergy and past surgery, long-time smoker at approximately 8 sticks per day. The treatment is emergency resuscitation, then liver transplant. Post-operative notes, patient is slowly stabilizing. Patient requested a replication of the poisoning question. Due to current project commitments, the request has been transferred to 35. And then we have a lot of investigators here. Age 400. Oh my goodness, brother. Holy shit. Evaluation of the effects of long-term consumption of the elixir of immortality on the brain and other organs. Methodology. Localized anatomical dissection. It lasted for an hour and 30 minutes and 52 seconds, and the results are subject regained consciousness with vital signs assessed as stable. Refer to attached table for more details. And that was by 35, 45, 65, and assisted by 8, 18, and 25. Okay, so that was very interesting. That's the first one done. That goes into a lot of the backstory on basically, my assumption is Zandiq trying to test this elixir of immortality on some random ass people that got brought in with other things like obesity and mental confusion. And then eventually he found Pantalone, who was just somehow a perfect fit after he got shot in the arm. That is kind of crazy, dude. Let's take a look at number 2 now. So this is going to be a lot of different people talking. I will very quickly mention who's talking before each line. 8. My notebook's missing. Did one of you take it? 25. Based on experience, it's more likely that you left it in a drawer somewhere. 8. I've looked. It's not in any of them. 45. But did you look in the dispensary? 65. If you still recall, you'd know that my dispensary may not be accessed by those younger than 18 years old. Oh, interesting. 25. What does this notebook look like? It's a notebook with a black cover. 35. It's the kind they give out to all the Fatui. 25. Is there something important written in that notebook? My experiment proposal's in there, so 8 is like 8 years old. 45. You're not planning on abducting Aranara for your experiment, are you? 65 says, what's so funny? 45. Don't you find this so adorable? 35. Seriously? Are you saying you're adorable? Zandiq says, what's the matter with you? Why are you so quiet over there? 18. Well, the culprit has to keep a low profile, doesn't he? I'm the one who threw it out. Zandiq said, why did you do that? And 18 said, because it looked so childish. 25. Did all of you receive the notice about the Harbinger's gathering? 65. What's the difference? If you received it, it means we all did too. 25. One of us has to sign on it to confirm receipt. Would you do it? I'm not signing it, said 65. 25 said, whoever signs it goes. I have a report to write. Wow, so the segments could fill in for Dottore, huh? I mean, that makes sense since the Dottore that we saw in Winter Nights Lazo was also a segment, I guess. It wasn't Zandiq. Zandiq said, how about I just give you the day off since I'm the one you'll be handing that report to anyway. 25. No thanks. 35 signed it. 18 said, are you really going? 8 said, did you lose a bet or something? 35 said, apparently we have a new colleague. Oh, I want to go check things out. Zandiq. I vaguely remember that I was maybe in my 40s when I started becoming more of an introvert. 45. And we lost our sense of compassion at the age of 8. 35 said, it's not like I'm gonna be compassionate towards a colleague anyway. I just want to get a feel for this new one. 25 said, I hope they're in HR. 18 said, I, for one, hope that they're in finance. 35 said, what's with Pantalone? He rejected 18's request. 8 said, heh, because 8 still has compassion or just lost it. 45 said, maybe it was just an administrative issue. 18 said, how was the party? 35 says, meh, it's just some young girl transferred in from another branch. 18 said, are you sure she's a young girl or does she just look like one? 35 said, I'd never ask a question as rude as that, but based on my experience, it should be the latter. 18 said, that means, how old is the Sarita now anyway? Never really kept track. 35 said, do you know the answer? You tell him. This is a total waste of time. What? Can I be curious? 18 said. Ah, it was Columbina. Transferred in from another branch, huh? 45 said, Madame Columbina? Miss Columbina? 65 said, just call her by her name. She feels so approachable for some reason, don't you think? 35 said, just because she looks like she could do with a bit of care and concern. 45 says, and because she looks starving and miles away from everything that's going on. 18 said, needless to say, none of that everything would be good news. Zandik says, she's the one the Saritsa's taken a liking to recently, and since she isn't actually involved in any of the Saritsa's affairs, it implies that she's the affair itself. Oh, shit. That's fun. So that is like a confirmation that she was never a part of the Saritsa's plan, but she was the plan. That's fucking crazy, bro. Saritsa probably knew everything we learned. A report from Sandrone just came in. 65 says, leave it. I'll take a look at it later. 45 said, there's no real need to look at it anyway. Her theories are also behind the times, and she's not exactly pioneering in her research ideas either. 35 says, if you ask me, she's actually more interesting than her science. 45 responds with, if you're talking about her personality, I suppose that's fair. 18 says, who's on duty shift today? The equipment in the operating room was just replaced. I need your signature for the delivery. 45 said, this must be a gift from the equipment supplier, but why wasn't it mentioned in the letter? 18 just saw it themselves. 45 said, yeah, the ones who need help are always the easiest to talk to. That's what I've always thought. Besides, I like how sincere she seems about wanting to work with us. 25 said, you're so cocky when you think you hold all the power. I'd love to see your face when it's your turn to put a project funding request in. 45 said, we have to have a united front on this. Dottore is supportive, but also letting things play out as they will. 65 said, that makes sense. Oh, by the way, remember to attend that meeting called by Il Capitano tomorrow morning. My man! Okay, interesting. 35 says, which one of you was at the cafeteria earlier? Was it you? 25 said, how did you know? 35 ran into the rooster, and he said, didn't you just have your meal a few moments ago? Uh-oh. The jester might have noticed something wasn't quite right too, but he didn't say a thing. 25 said maybe because he was raised right? Or maybe he was just unsure. That's not surprising. I suppose who can really tell the whole lot of me's apart? There's only one me. Zandik's the main and not a segment. The main doesn't count. He doesn't count? If you ask me, neither you nor me are truly me's. That's what I was thinking too. Interesting. So all of the other Harbingers, it seems, had no idea that Dottore was doing the whole segment stuff, and that all of the times that they saw Dottore, that it wasn't actually him. That is very interesting. I would imagine some of them probably knew or had an idea, but I can guarantee some of them wouldn't have been able to tell. I don't think Tartaglia and I don't think Arlecchino knew, for example, based on what they've said to us in the past. 45 said, the main just died and the body's still fresh. I need all hands on deck. We need to prepare for the autopsy and start recording now. 25 said, already recording, but do you have to be so excited? 65 said, in all honesty, our shared lack of imagination in these matters is almost impressive. Do you actually not feel sorry for Zandik? Said 35. You're the one who was closest to him. 65 said, of course I feel sorry for Zandik. Am I not Zandik himself? You're right, said 35, and I feel the same way. This is the time for us to show some emotion and compassion for ourselves. 45 said, we should be able to develop a drug that works better on us since we're experimenting on our own body. And 18 said, let's get to it. I am so excited. Jesus freaking Christ, bro. What the fuck? Alright, goddamn. That was an interesting one. So that again was just a lead up, but a little bit of background knowledge on the Fatui themselves as well. And then we have a final one, which indeed is the anomalous tree marrow number 3. An overwhelming sense of unfamiliarity comes over you the moment you touch the tree marrow. Though you cannot quite pinpoint the source of this estrangement, it is as if you are thinking and standing still at the same time. You sense information quietly entering your mind, while other data surfaces, both in a way that renders them in their most easily readable form. It then dawns on you. This flood of information comes from Irminsul, taking the form of digitized memories. However, you feel neither irritation nor excitement. The data simply flows through your mind like water, and you observe it all with total calm and equanimity. I should attend this meeting, I told myself. Truth be told, not a single one of my selves occupies a critical position in my world, for the ample proliferation of my myriad selves ensures a perpetual surplus of manpower ready to dispose of whatever trivialities might crop up in this world. 25-year-old me cast a sidelong glance at me, let out a cold laugh, and walked away. It is impossible to define the principles by which we are ordered or ranked. In truth, there is no formal hierarchy between us. However, the mere adoption of the epithet Doctor immediately establishes a relationship of superiors and subordinates with the other individuals in the organization. True. I headed to that secret meeting where Piero explained the details of that so-called false sky. To me, the revelation of that false sky is of little consequence. I have no use for it, not while my hands are full of far more pressing research. That being said, the question of what lies beyond that sky is a curiosity worth pondering. I recorded the details and told Piero quite frankly that perhaps one day, these secrets could be exchanged for even more useful commodities. Piero offered a rather non-committal chuckle, while Pantalone signaled his agreement with my appraisal without saying a single word otherwise. As for Pulcinella, he mumbled a few choice phrases, mostly regarding some confidentiality agreement. I had no interest in explaining myself further. That day will eventually come, sooner or later. Huh? I'm starting to get excited to learn more about Pulcinella as we go, dude, because, he seems like a very interesting character. The deficit in live specimen data in this phase of the new drug trial has been substantial. I suppose a shift in experimental focus is necessary, even if it requires the task of persuading myself to comply. The lifespan of humans is far too fleeting and their physical vessels altogether too fragile. Fantasies of immortality are so common merely because people remain pathetically trapped by their own limitations. Okay, now he's just being a freaking edgelord, bro. It has been some time since my return from Sumeru, from that operation where I lost me, myself, and I, among others. A suitable reduction in burden does wonders for the mood. Besides, the two gnosis I secured are bound to please the Tsaritsa. At Zapoyani Palace, I encountered Sandrone and Colombina, though they are frequently seen in each other's company. I bet they invariably maintain a distance of a few paces between them. As I walked past them, Sandrone let out a short scoff. I presented the battle trophies during my audience with the Tsaritsa. I also informed her that I have given certain secrets to the Lord of Dendro in exchange as a necessary expenditure. That Pulcinella, who usually has so much to say about keeping secrets, remained uncharacteristically silent today. Pantalone, too, offered no objection, content to serve as little more than a decorative vase at the proceedings. While the other harbingers were not in attendance, they will hear of this soon enough. Even the Lesser Lord Kusanali was once moved by the secrets Piero holds. You fucking what, bruv? Let me finish this part. Even the Lesser Lord Kusanali was once moved by the secrets Piero holds. 4 descenders have come to Tevat, and the 3rd was erased for violating the one rule, though the method of that erasure remains a mystery. As for the other 3, I needed only to utter their numbers for her to understand. The pensive silence that followed on her part was quite telling, really. It must surely stem from her relationship with that 4th descender. This is in reference to him talking to the Tsaritsa or the Lord of Dendro? Nahida. Okay, that makes more sense, I guess. Jesus Christ. Because it made it sound like it was the Tsaritsa at first. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's fine. Okay, then let's keep going. A friend of mine believes that my selfishness is not limited to others, but also aimed at myself in a manner that has long since transcended conventional definitions. He did subsequently realize that he had spoken out of turn, but pedestrian notions like convention mean absolutely nothing when one is addressing a member of the Fatui. I find the operating room wonderfully serene, blissfully free from the incessant disturbances of my segments. It is a place where I can enjoy a moment of ease and reflect on myself, to an appropriate degree, of course. Is this not after he's already erased his other segments, though? Why is he talking like they still exist? Let's continue. Splitting the soul is not the most formidable obstacle. The next issue I must address is the mechanism of transfer to ensure that the soul reaches its designated location. First, we conquer the living world. Then we head to the world beyond death. I expect to begin with animal experiments. We can use the souls of others as the subjects of our experiments. Oh my god, that's confirmation, bro. The bubble in Nod Cry was literally this. Oh, the bubble in Nod Cry was literally this, dude. Also, yeah, maybe the lizard, maybe the blue lizard. Maybe that is Dottore. Oh, Jesus, dude. Okay, so that is exactly what he was doing. Splitting soul from body. Oh my god. This is going to be important. He's coming back. I truly believe, and we're going to get to the end of this, I truly believe he is long gone right now, but I believe there is plenty of ways for him to come back in the future. Phase 2 of the Soul experiment is concluded, with losses staying below projections. Evidently, the channel of transfer is more critical than the total volume. Digitization. That's a splendid idea. I perceive a truly magnificent scene. One half of my soul enters the ley lines through death, while the remaining half is injected as pure data. My two halves would then navigate those pathways to converge with the information of the past. It would be possible for me, in this manner, to achieve the preservation of my memories. We might consider that as one of death's rare oversights. Something like that is even more eternal than eternal life itself. An immortal record would certainly satisfy that definition, of course. Preservation, huh? What could possibly be preserved by the cryo in the upcoming region, dude? This is all very interesting until we also remember what was said towards the end of the quest, right? Maybe I'm wrong here, but was it not said that there was still some, like, roots of Irminsul left below the ground? Not much, like not enough to do anything with, of course, but wasn't there some remnants of it? Yes. I think there's a few ways, dude. Dottore was indeed dragged down and burned, of course, but they are just decoration now, completely shut down. Shut down? Maybe. Does that mean they don't still harbor memories, even though they can't, like, be filtered through Teyvat, though? I don't know. I still think there could be something to do with that, to be honest. He died in Sumeru, but he also lived in Sumeru. You catch the faint sound of laughter, like a thunderclap. It jolts your awareness back to the surface, pulling it free from the memories that nearly buried it. You let go of that tree marrow abruptly and wipe your face. You expect to find sweat, but there is none. It's all an illusion. You try to trace the contours of this rather indistinct sensation, but it feels almost impossible. Morality and purpose, benevolence and malice, all that was originally good and virtuous within you is resisting every perception from those memories that don't belong to you. So this is us now. This is us reading it. After an indeterminate amount of time, perhaps seconds or perhaps minutes, you finally get a hold of yourself and put this unusual object away into your pack. That was very interesting. That gave us a lot of kind of missed backstory from what we didn't know about Dottore's time in the Fatui and his relationship not only with the other segments, but some of the other Fatui members, what his job was, even a couple of other things. What's saying that freaking Pantalone doesn't just have one of these in his back pocket, dude? If even the little fragments like this of Irminsul can store that much data inside, I fully believe, I know a lot of people won't like to hear this, I do think Dottore is dead right now. However, I think there are plenty of ways that he can come back in the future, and I think he probably will end up coming back in the future. Him talking about doing all these experiments of splitting the soul from person to even an animal, and then us seeing the blue lizard, I'm saying that could be foreshadowing, but it's a very interesting proposal, especially if we look at past Fatui stuff as well. Even with the only other dead Fatui harbinger at that point being Signora, the symbolism of the fire butterfly landing on her coffin and evaporating could be quite similar to that, like the soul finding its true resting place or something, or going back to the source. I do have a feeling that what he said to Pantalone at the end, where he was basically like, what if we extracted your memories of me and used a part of your soul? What would happen then? I do have a feeling that could be something that they test in the future. Maybe not with Pantalone's soul, of course, but with somebody else's soul. There could be plenty more experiments at some point, you know? It's interesting. That was very fun. It was very cool. It's definitely not the end of Dottore in the conventional sense, but he's long gone for now, for sure.